Well, guys, welcome to another Ultimate Edge webinar series. This time, we are actually privileged to be talking to Katherine Swanberg, who is the president and I think other titles. I can't even remember, Katherine. You're on the board of directors and chief executive or something like that for the Seattle REAPS organization, right?
Yes, good job.
Thanks, Katherine. Great. Let's start out with, remember our audience is investors and people who want to be investors and real estate agents largely who work with investors. But what is a REIA? We hear that term in the industry a lot. Tell us what that means and what it is, please.
Sure, yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Katherine, and I run the only REIA in the state of Washington that's affiliated with the National Real Estate Investors Association. So a REIA just stands for Real Estate Investors Association. We are a chapter of a larger association, which is National REIA. So we pay membership dues to a national chapter, and what we get for those dues are a ton of discounts and industry discounts and member benefits that kind of trickle down to our local chapter. So we've been in Seattle since 1983. I have been running our association for about a decade, which I can't even believe that's the case, but it is. And I'm an active real estate investor too. So that's really, I started attending my local chapter when I got into real estate investing, probably about 12 years ago. I started attending our group, and our group is not for profit. We are a board-ran association, and we run primarily on volunteer. So all of our talent, everybody who meets and greets you at the door, everybody who comes up to speak and to share or give back in any capacity, we are all volunteers. So that is something I started doing as soon as I joined the group. If you know me, I don't like to sit down and be quiet and listen for very long. I would rather be doing stuff. So I attended my first meeting and was like, okay, I've got to be able to meet and greet at the door or volunteer or start doing something to get value out of the association for me, because that's kind of how my brain works. If I'm going to be a part of it, I'd rather just help run it rather than just be a spectator or a member of the group.
Well, you certainly have done that. So we're going to get to Seattle REAPS in just a second here, because guys, I want you to know the Seattle REAPS is one of the larger real estate investment associations in the United States. And Katherine does a great job of running a large group there, which we're going to talk about in a second. But before we transition to that, Katherine, two things, guys. One is that I want you to know that if you have any questions, you can put those in the little notes or questions box, which you'll see on the webinar screen that you're looking at, and we'll get Katherine to answer some of those at the end here. And tell us this, Katherine, are all REIAs created equal if you're part of the organization, if you're smaller or bigger, and how does that compare?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of the REIAs in our country are actually for-profit. Somebody has a product or a service or a coaching business, for example, and they will start a local REIA as kind of a marketing arm for their business. I'd say about half of the REIAs in this country are for-profit, and about half are not-for-profit. The difference is that in a board-ran association, everybody stands to gain equally. The REIA does not exist as a profit center to one person or one person's business, product, or industry. It exists for the benefit of the whole. And in order for it to be successful, it has to be dependent on the community fostering and growing the group, bringing guests to meetings, standing up and volunteering to speak. If you've ever been to one of our meetings, it's not the Katherine show. It is trying to constantly highlight what our members are up to in our economy, in our industry, in our market, rather than if I owned the group and it was mine and mine only, it would be skewed a little bit differently. It would be really for my benefit versus the benefit of the whole.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, so for the benefit of someone who wants to maybe start a real estate investment association and pattern after the growth that Seattle's had, can you kind of define a little bit of the growth that you've seen since you've been there, Catherine, and why someone would want to be a part of it and what benefits are there and all of that, please.
Yeah, sure. Uh, we have a ton of product discounts, industry discounts, and a lot of material, physical benefits to being a member, but it's not generally why people actually join the REIA. They join because they're looking for their tribe. More times than not, in a family, it's a great example. My husband couldn't be less interested in real estate or business mindset or business entrepreneurship or goal setting and mapping an intentional designed life. That's not what gets my husband excited. I happen to really like those things. So for me, I need to find my tribe, and I need to align myself with people that are going to kind of feed me in those areas that I'm not going to get. I'm not in business with my husband. I have a business partner. Any investing I do in real estate, I do with my business partner or by myself. But it's a lot more fun with other people. And you can actually collaborate and do a lot more creative deals. I'm really good at certain things in my household and in my business partnerships, and I'm weaker on other stuff. So in my joint ventures or my business relationships, I'm always looking for the people that have the stuff I'm not going to bring to the table, and so we can collaborate. If you're just starting out and you do not know who the heck you should know in the industry, you don't even know where to start. Seattle is a completely different face than it used to be. Born and raised here. So I grew up in Bellevue. I've lived in lots of places. I now live full-time in Issaquah. It's very different here than it used to be. So if you're struggling to try to figure out, how do I find the people that are going to be generous with information, want to share, want to collaborate, and have internal motivation and internal fire to take action in their life, then you would join your local REIA. And if you don't have one where you are, you might consider starting one. So there's the benefits that are material, but I think intrinsically, really why people join is because they just want to be surrounded by people that aren't going to say to them, that's not going to work. That doesn't work. You can't do that here. Oh, you can't get deals like that. You can't buy properties like that. There's a lot more people out there that will tell you can't. And you've got to strategically not listen to those people and put yourself in the right company. So that's really what I think the biggest value to joining your local REIA would be.
Yep. Okay. So specific to Seattle REAPS, which brings some really nationally recognized high caliber people. I can speak from good experience here because I go to REAPS. I'm a member of REAPS, guys. And I go there, and Catherine and crew bring in some really good speakers. Education is a big part of what this is all about. But Catherine, tell us about the connections that you're able to make because of the size of REAPS, and describe a little bit about Seattle in particular. How big is it, and
yeah.
What does that allow you to do as a REAPS organization?
Yeah, so our group hosts about 100 live events around Seattle every year. When I started volunteering, we hosted one meeting per month. That was it. But as the congestion has changed and traffic patterns have changed and people's ability to maybe be available on that one day a month has changed, we've now host about 7 events every month around Puget Sound. And the topics that we pick are entirely dependent on our membership. And they also change. I can tell you if you're new into real estate investing, the topics that are probably the sexiest are wholesaling, fixing up properties and flipping them and selling them for a profit, because every single episode of HGTV has somebody doing that, and it looks really easy and really fun, and it's amazing what you can do in 59 minutes on a TV show. We have a bunch of people in our group that are landlords. I'm a landlord. That's what I like to do. I buy and hold property like they are little savings accounts. That's what I started doing 20 years ago. I collect them. I like landlording. I like tenant landlord law, property management. That's not everybody's cup of tea, but I happen to dig it. We have people that have great credit and income, but they have no time. They might have a JOB, what they need is to partner with people that have the skill set to go out and bird dog and research and dig up off-market properties and structure the deal, and then they can come in and partner and close. We have lots of new investors that maybe don't have income, don't have credit, don't know necessarily where to start, but they have energy, and they will go out and structure and find deals and then find people to partner with. So the education piece is kind of like going back to college again. You know, I'm a mortgage broker too, and as a licensed mortgage broker, I have to take continuing ed every year. I own a property management company. We have a designated broker. She has to do continuing ed every year. But a real estate investor in this country doesn't have to have any minimum number of hours of education, continuing ed, ethics, housing violation, integrity type training. There's no rule for that. And one thing we provide in our group is something called PHP, which stands for Professional Housing Provider. It's a designation that you can strive towards that offers you a set of clock hour courses. Each one we feel like covers some basic minimum knowledge that you should have, whether it's bookkeeping, appraisal, inspections, fair housing law, ethics. We have training and education in all of those categories. So ultimately, if you're taking advantage of your membership and showing up to our events, you're getting the fundamental basic education that you would need to help you narrow focus on what it is you want to do, because there's 1,000 ways to be in real estate, and how to do it safely, not at the expense of somebody else, fairly and legally in the state.
Okay. And I know there's a lot of just real tangible benefits that you kind of touched on at the very beginning, but just for the benefit of the audience, other benefits to being a member of Seattle REAPS, what would those be?
So our group has a relationship with Home Depot, and that's one of the, I think, the most favorite tangible benefits. We have a 2% back program. So any money you spend at Home Depot, whether it's online or in a store, we give 2% back in rebates to our members. On average, right now, our membership gets about $440 in rebates every year. Only about half of our membership takes advantage of the member benefit. If you're active and you're fixing and flipping and doing deals, you're at Home Depot a lot. If you're not super active and you just own maybe your primary home, you're not at Home Depot maybe as much. They also have a unique cabinet program, appliance program, and a paint program that's just for our members. It's about 20 to 30% off paint products at the point of sale. When you go to swipe your credit card, it recognizes you as a REAPS member, and you get the discount at the cash register. If you're looking at flipping property, or if you're a landlord and you're going to go in and switch out all the appliances in a rental, and you're going to buy a bundle of appliances, you would get a significant discount through your member benefit. And same thing with cabinets as well. We also do an Office Depot program. I've completely got rid of in all my offices, I have no printers, no paper, no ink anymore. We do all of our printing at Office Depot because the member benefit is so good.
Wow.
Anything we buy online at Office Depot or at the register at the store, we swipe our membership card, we get hundreds of items at cost. We have constant contact. If you are trying to market and build your business and you're building a list, which is very common, you might be doing marketing through constant contact. We have about 20% off through our membership there. Call Fire, which we use for text blasting and communication discounts. 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Sherwin-Williams is another popular one. Our Sherwin-Williams discount in this state is as good as, if not better, than any contractor discount if you were an actual painter buying paint at the counter at Sherwin-Williams. It's roughly 30 to 40% off their best paint, which I'm a big fan of Sherwin products, the paint I prefer. The discount is equivalent to what my painter gets.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an awesome benefit. Those are the national benefits. There's a lot more, but those I think are my favorite. But then our local businesses, we have what's called a business membership, and they are made up of our local title, local escrow, local lending, hard money, conventional money, real estate staging services, property management services. All of our business members, we ask them when they come on board as a member, can you offer something that's exclusive to just our membership, so that when our members call and do business with them and say that they're a REAPS member, that there's some kind of a benefit to using you. So it might be a free ebook, it might be a free report, it might be a discount on a product or a service, but we try to always make sure our business members are offering something of value to us so that we're shopping inside the four walls of our community.
Okay, so guys, significant benefits, as Catherine's outlined, to being a member of REIA and certainly Seattle REAPS kind of thing. So Katherine, there are some REAPS people watching right now, I can tell. If you were to reach out and say, what are the challenges that you face running the organization, and how might we as members be able to help you out there, what would you say?
Well, I've been running this association for a long time, and the thing I have the hardest time with right now is getting volunteers that are active in this community and active in real estate to get up and speak about what they're doing. Nobody wants to hear what I'm up to because it's been heard. What I want to do is encourage the people that are sitting down, who are trying new things, trying to implement systems. Maybe they've done a deal and it flopped. Maybe they did a deal and it went great. Maybe they haven't done a deal, but they are working towards putting all the systems in place to execute. I want more of my membership to come up and share. That's probably the biggest value. When you're putting on 100 events every single year, I have tons of people I can bring in from out of the state to come and speak on different subjects. But if I asked a member what's most valuable to them, they want to know what other people are doing in this market with these interest rates and this economy with our housing prices the way they are, which I think scares a lot of people into thinking that there's any deals at all available for them in this marketplace, which is absolutely the case. That it's different when I tell you that than it is when you hear about what other members are actually doing. So new people coming up to share would be great. We do an annual event called What Went Wrong, where we highlight what failed miserably on a transaction. If you listen to gurus all day long, they would love to spin that everything is simple, easy, and if you just follow these 6 steps over and over again and you're coachable and trainable, it will be this flawless journey for you. If you've ever actually done a real estate transaction, every single transaction is completely unique. Something always seems to go awry that you didn't plan for, and that's okay. You can't expect to know everything before you take action. That's not realistic. But you need to know how to counter the issues as they come up and get them pushed to the side and then move forward and still close. So on this meeting, we asked people to come up and actually share what didn't go right. And it's entertaining, it's funny, and people love it because they sit back and they go, okay, listen, like that went severely wrong for that person, but they still managed to survive and come out the other side. And we do an annual Deals of the Year where we celebrate people's deals. And the deals of the year are not the ones that make the most amount of money. The deals of the year are the ones that take a lot of creativity, the ones that didn't look like a deal when you first looked at the numbers and you passed on it and then came back to it, figured out what the seller needed, figured out how to get what you needed and what they needed, and how to create something out of what appeared to look like nothing. Those are really fun meetings, but those are meetings that are entirely hosted by me, but highlight what our members are doing. They're very entertaining. So I always am looking for volunteers that want to come up and share.
Great suggestion, guys. So, and I got to tell you, from being a member of REAPS for a number of years now, some of my favorite meetings are the ones that Katherine just described, and you learn so much from other people's challenges or failures or however you want to look at it, and also their creativity and how they made it through it alive kind of thing, and they're still doing it, So it's really, really very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And talking to you, Catherine, I learned that you also have a property management company because you're just not busy enough with the other stuff you have. Right?
Nope.
And we have a lot of investors that watch our webinar kind of thing. So let's speak to the property management side for a little bit here. If you're an investor, you own real estate, what should they know about property management to keep them out of trouble? Can they do it themselves? Is it better to use one or the other? What differences exist between property managers? Speak to all of that, please.
Yeah. Well, I've been a landlord for 20 years. I can tell you in 20 years, there's been a massive amount of change in tenant landlord law in the state, but most of that change has been recent change. And struggling to stay on top of what the tenant landlord law is feels sometimes like an impossible task, because cities are coming up with their very own rental ordinances and their very own inspections and annual fees for having rentals in those cities. Of course, the state has its own laws as well. And the city of Seattle, being Seattle, they kind of lead what ultimately other cities tend to follow up and do. So Seattle tends to look at San Francisco and go, okay, well, this is what's happening right now in their legislation, and this is what's getting passed. And then you will see within a certain amount of time, those same issues become on the radar for Seattle government, right? And then the other cities around Seattle start to adopt. So it's dynamic, it's moving, it's ever changing, and it's hard to stay on top of. If you happen to like property management and landlording, then managing your own properties might make total sense for you. I happen to totally dig it, but I don't even manage my own properties anymore. I have other people doing it because I needed to remove the emotional piece for me.
Yeah.
I'm really good at, and my staff is really good at, doing the same thing for other people. When it's not you managing your property, then all you have to do is really just honor the contract. The contract, if it's right, has every single piece in it, and all the rules of the game are completely laid out, so you know exactly how to do your job, and the tenant knows exactly what their responsibilities are. Are there exceptions? Oh, of course. I could write a book on all of the different, didn't think that one through, and exceptions to every tenant landlord issue I've ever had in 20 years. There's been an exception. But you get better at it with time. The number one most important thing you could probably do is screen your tenants appropriately up front and pick the right tenant out of the gate, and that will help you solve 98% of the problems you could potentially have with that tenant afterwards. But one thing we talk about all the time in REAPS and in every other business is, what is your time worth? What is the highest and best use of your time? Are you doing, and this is a constantly reevaluating with my company, am I doing a bunch of $9 and $10 work all day long because it feels good to get it done, because I feel like I don't have time to offload it, because I feel like I don't have the ability to write down the process and systematize and then give it off to a VA or a remote assistant? Or am I doing it because it's easier really than working on my own business and growing my own business? And I am constantly reevaluating that in my brain all day long. What am I doing right this second? Is this the highest and best use for my time? If it isn't, I need to put a system in place and pay somebody else to do it and manage it moving forward.
Oh, Catherine, are you there?
Makes sense for you to sell. And so you're maybe stuck with a property that you didn't anticipate having as a rental. So you might be way outside your wheelhouse and uncomfortable. That's when it's a great time to use a property manager. You know, you got to really analyze what the best use of your time is every day. I know for me, growing my property management company is my number one goal right now, alongside running REAPS. But for somebody else, your goal might be to work on acquisition, acquiring, talking to sellers, structuring deals. If that's where you should be putting your energy, you cannot be managing the tenant-landlord relationship on the backside. That's where somebody else could help.
Catherine, one of the questions I get from a lot of our clients, investors, is what's the appropriate cost to pay for a property manager? And does it vary a lot between property management firms?
Yeah, it does. There's quite a few companies that have come out with a flat fee monthly, like a subscription where you just pay a low price per door, regardless of the amount of property or the amount of property management work it would actually take. And then you can purchase things on the side a la carte. And then there's other companies that have a very transparent percentage, and everything is included in that percentage. And I think it's there's good marketing, I think, on both ends. If you look at like a renter's warehouse scenario, they might charge you a 69 or 99 or 199 flat fee per month. And then if you want any of the additional services, like should you have to go to eviction court, should you need an inspection, should your tenant want to renew their lease, all of those ancillary jobs come at an additional cost. So if you're shopping for property management services and all you think is the flat fee is your fee, that's not a correct way to look at an apples to apples comparison. In our scenario, we offer 3 different pricing matrices, and our most common one is an 8 to 10% per month, but it includes, and that's based on rental income, and that includes everything. If there is we do annual inspections, it's soup to nuts, 100% everything is included. So it's very transparent to know up front exactly what your expenses are going to be every single month.
Okay, good. Before I leave this topic, I just want to ask you, there were a couple things. One is you said, well, the number one thing you do is select your tenant properly with the right background screen. Can you describe what that means? Is there a service you use, or what would you recommend to it?
Yeah. There are several options in the state of Washington that you can use. If you don't have a back-end management system like Buildium or Appfolio, for example, you would be shopping for this service a la carte. And you can go to the Rental Housing Association, for example, has a product where you can pay them to screen your tenants for you. Our system includes a full background report, an eviction report, a credit check, references, all 3 credit scores, all 3 credit bureaus. And, there's some data you can no longer use to make decisions on tenants. For example, felony background, past convictions. You might know that information about a tenant, but you are not allowed to use that in your decision making when it comes to evaluating whether or not you're going to let a tenant move in. So you have to be very careful, because there are agencies that are calling around to test if you know your business or not, and how you're actually doing your tenant pre-qualification. There are certain things you're no longer allowed to ask when it comes to collecting prospective information. So it's important to know that. If you are into landlording, the Rental Housing Association, we're members, I'm a member, and they're kind of a sister association to REAPS. A big fan of their forms and their processes. They stay really right on top of exactly what tenant landlord law is in the state. So if you have a question and you're like, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that, that's one of the services that they offer as well.
Very good. Okay, let's go to the other extreme. Let's say you chose badly and you need to evict a tenant. What are some of the do's and don'ts that a landlord should be very well aware of there?
Yeah, well, it depends on the city that your property is in. The city of Seattle has a different rule than the city of Tacoma. And those 2 cities outside, if you're looking at a statewide tenant landlord law, there's a lot of changes happening right now, and the legislation is in the process of passing. 3-day pay or vacates are being extended to 14 days. Tenants have more rights and more time than ever to cure any money that they owe you. It's very much fluid right now, and if you were at our meeting last Thursday, Doug Owens, who is one of our members and also an attorney, spoke about all of the different potential changes that are on the table. So what I would say is, if you're in a position where you have an unpaying tenant, you would use a professional service. When we have to provide service to tenants, we hire that out. It's not safe or really the best use of our time to be posting notices We hire professional companies to do that. They have certain compliance measurements. They track who they spoke to, how something was posted, how it was served. So if you ever end up in eviction court, you can confidently say, I did everything exactly the way I'm supposed to in the state of Washington. I use a company called LT Services in Seattle. They handle any eviction type stuff for our company, and I've been really pleased with them. And anytime I have questions, I can get an answer, and I don't have to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. If you're self-managing and you have a non-paying tenant, sometimes you are emotionally caught up in their story. And so you might spend 30 to 60 days engaging with a tenant about their lack of non-payment and listening to their story and buying into it and making verbal commitments for whatever payment plan's about to come. And you might lose a good couple of months before you finally figure out, I just need to be following my contract and doing what the state says I'm allowed to do with a non-paying tenant. If you started that process when your tenant became late, say on the 5th of the month, when most rent is considered late, you would be so much further ahead than when most self-managing people actually start to take action. Mm-hmm. I would say, don't delay the process and work always with a company that can actually navigate that for you and is responsible for knowing the rules.
That is some of the best advice I've heard and you could give. And from owning real estate for a number of years and making some bad choices because I got emotionally kind of connected with my tenants, I can tell you that's some of the best advice you can follow.
Yeah.
I know that from personal experience. Katherine, I want to ask you one more question. We're kind of hit our half-hour mark here, but you are obviously an entrepreneur, and a lot of the people coming into REAPS, really that's what they are, and they may not know that. They may be kind of questioning whether they should be there. They may have a certain set of fears that is holding them back or whatever. So for the last couple minutes here, if you were to speak to the aspiring entrepreneurs, you have a mortgage company, you run REAPS, which is another organization, you have a property management company, you've obviously learned a lot from that. What would you tell someone there to help them understand the game and be successful?
Yeah. I just got back from a conference called PM Grow, and it was just about 150 producing property management companies in the U.S. that get together and kind of treat it like a mastermind. They're all entrepreneurial, high quality, high producing people. And, you know, one thing that constantly comes up is that one thing they have in common is that they are avid readers. They're constantly reading and expanding their brain on business, mindset, and entrepreneurial life. And if it's not reading that they're doing, they're in their car and it's a podcast. So many amazing podcasts out there for free, available at your fingertips. Put away the Netflix, put away the Game of Thrones, put away the Amazon Prime, and replace it with free, juice for your brain. There's just so much amazing stuff out there that doesn't cost anything that will completely get you energized, help you figure out what you want to focus on and where to put your energy, and then only put yourself in the right mindset or around the people with the right mindset. So if you've got a bunch of friends in or family that are naysayers and they're not going to encourage you to reach those goals, go find a meetup, a hangout, go find a group of people that are serial entrepreneurs, people that want to take action and change their life. Those are the only people you need to be spending your time with. Join a reading group, join a reading club of business owners who are reading to expand their brain, to grow their business, and just get wherever it is that they want to go. Maybe look at hiring a personal coach who will help you analyze your goals and help provide some structure or framework to wherever it is you're headed, regardless of if it's real estate or not.
Great stuff. So I knew this was going to be an informative interview chat, Katherine, when we started our conversation about whether you wanted to participate, and you really delivered. Thank you so much for that. It's great information all the way around here. If people wanted to get a hold of you and talk about any of the stuff that we've talked about today, how would they do so, please?
Yeah. My email for REAPS is info@reapsweb.com. That's REAPSWEB. And I'm happy to provide my cell phone number if you think that would be useful.
Sure.
My phone number is 425-260-3121. You want to
Great.
text me and set up a time to talk, I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, in your schedule that has so many breaks available to talk, I'm sure. Katherine, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate participating on the webinar series with us. It was great.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.